There's a little thing about playing blues in open tuning, specifically open G, which is your basic A shape. Um, what I want to focus on is really not necessarily slide playing, so to speak, but some other notes that you can use based on familiar chord shapes and at least part of a familiar scale position to enhance your slide playing with kind of what goes in between. You know, the metal bar stuff, it's all over the place. Everybody talks about that. But it's hard to find a real fretboard map or a go-to as far as new positions and riffs to play once you screw up the way you tune your guitar. So take it with a grain of salt, take it with a beer, and hopefully it'll help you out. Good luck. I want to talk about a couple things to get a good slide guitar sound going with without too much hassle. Take your standard tuning and drop your E string down to match your D. Take your high E string, do the same with it. Take your A string and lower it down to match your G. So now you have D, G, D, G, B, D, and that is, of course, an open G chord. Your root is right here on your A string. It's also here on your G string, and you can use those octaves to enhance your turnarounds. And there's not a whole lot of finger work that you have to get into. A lot of times with slide, start getting lazy and relying on the metal bar, which it is cool, but it can get repetitious, it can get annoying. So what I like to do is still use a little bit of fingerstyle and some riffs, and not beat the slide to death, so to speak. The basics, of course, are everywhere. You've got your root, and then you've got your 12th fret, which is your high root, and then your 4 chord, your 5 chord that you can work into your 12-bar blues. The 3rd fret has a whole host of great notes. You've got minor thirds, you've got sevenths, and basically this whole fret can add tension when you're in that first position. It can also be used as a transition to move up to the 4 chord, and maybe to give you an idea of that, there's sort of an old Muddy Waters thing. That whole thing is based on playing that 3rd fret against the root note and using it as a transition. It's beautiful. But some other things that you can use in this tuning were already there in standard tuning. You have not changed your D string, your G string, or your B string. So if you're playing in open G, don't forget where your G chord was with the E-shaped bar chord, your sort of basic bar chord using that old 3rd fret on the E string as a root. Well, the remnant of that is right here, and of course along with that you have what's left of the pentatonic scale in first position, right where you left it. Of course the other notes are simply shifted by 2 frets, but when you go to grab for them and they're 2 frets away, it does start making things a little weird. But keep in mind, if those are right there, you can get some blues riffs that are right there on, frankly, the fun part of the scale, and you can work those into what you're doing without a whole lot of hassle upstairs trying to remember where your new notes are. You can just go back and sort of rely on your old ones, you know. does work out nicely. The cool thing about that is when you take the newly tuned E string that's dropped down to D, and you come up here for that chord, you have what is now a minor third that really hints at sort of a blues tension. But what this, I think, becomes is flat ninth, so that it's got sort of a funky feel to it because that note is so high. And it really is useful, and it's right there waiting for you. Your fingers are already trained to do that, which is kind of cool. And you're not relegated to just your root chord, because this, like all chords, is movable. So it's there for your 1, your 4, and your 5 chords, which is kind of cool. So instead of having to just kind of move the slide around, you can go from 5, 4 to 1, and you're all right here. So that whole thing of, thinking that you're stuck here and here and here, it's really not the case. You can use those notes to really open up what you're doing. Use that old position chord with a new fun note, and then of course your pentatonic stuff that you have. And it does take your slide playing, incorporating some things that you're already good at, and takes it to another level where you can kind of work it around. Hopefully this has been some helpful talk, and if it is, let me know. If it's not, go watch something else. Thanks again. I hope you enjoyed it.